Folks, welcome back to the Night's Watch. I'm Jacob.
I'm Alex.
And we have very important things to talk about, such as...
beating the Wild in...
No, did you hear that?
That was me.
A very loud gurgle came through.
That's got to stay in. But we beat the Wild.
Well, what I was referring to is we have to talk about if 100 men could beat a gorilla. In hand-to-hand combat. I'm on the gorilla side.
I'm on the gorilla side, too. Have you seen those things? But speaking of wild animals, Golden Knights beat the Wild 4-2 in Game 6. That was a very early game, a game that we're all kind of rushing to get to. I got there halfway through the second period, I think.
Game 6.
Yeah, Game 6. But that was a game you wanted to see a team like the Golden Knights play, in that it was very tightly contested and they didn't give up a lot.
Well,
right?
Even going back to before that, because I think the last time we recorded was right after Game 4.
Mm-hmm.
And we were coming back home, tied 2-2.
Oh, yeah, we haven't talked since tied 2-2. We haven't talked about this entire week.
Because last week we were 50-50 shot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, Game 2, we were there.
Game 4?
Not Game 4, Game 5.
Yes.
Game 5, we were there.
We were both wrong. Game 5.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Game 5, we were there. You were there all day getting a free tattoo.
Yeah, as I say, I got there. I left at 1 in the afternoon and got there, stood in line in the sun in the plaza for a few hours and got a free tattoo. And it's sick.
Yeah. And we were there.
God,
it was warm.
I was fucking...
Yeah.
That shit wiped me out.
Yeah, we went to beer house, hung out, waited for the game. And then from essentially getting in the door until everybody left, that was just a full on
it was crazy.
It was crazy. It was so loud. Everything was going. Every time a goal happened, people were losing their minds.
I know it's cliche to talk about the fortress and the crowd, and sometimes when people do it, I'm I kind of roll my eyes. I'm yeah, okay, we fucking get it. It's not your one anymore. But goddamn, that was one of those nights where it was
loud.
I don't know if the TV picked up on how crazy it was, but it was fucking rocking in there.
And every time the Knights scored a goal, there were high fives back and front, side to side between three of us. Jacob won tickets to go for free.
Yeah, we got to sit in the lower bowl.
That was awesome.
So cool. We got to see how the other side lives.
Yeah, and then team played a great game. And
before it started, I was
you felt it, yeah.
Maybe I couldn't tell if I was delirious from the heat stroke and getting a tattoo outdoors.
The sun plus 2 beers on top of that.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was that or what, but even before the pregame show, when we're just sitting there, I was I have a very positive feeling about this.
Yeah.
Even during warm-ups, I was I can just tell they're focused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but even towards the end of the game when shit got crazy, I was just I feel kind of invincible, man.
Yeah.
Even if we lost, I was we're going to win the next 2 anyways. It doesn't matter.
To start the game, we got early penalty on, I think it was McNabb or somebody that mattered, right? In terms of the kill. And then Jack and Wild Bill had a beautiful shorthanded goal. Just let it go 2-on-1. Jack just saw the play and passed it right to Carlson, and he finished it. And obviously, right after the Wild answer back, I think Kaprizov scored a power play goal. But even then, at that point, you're they had to do that to be even. You're not up 1-0. You're tied still with the team that you're trying to beat, having a shit ton of momentum because they just scored on shorthanded on a really good defensively sound team.
Exactly. I'm well, good job, guys. You just blew one of your few power play opportunities in a playoff, deep in a playoff series. Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. Because I felt even a game or two before that would have been so deflating and would have been quiet. But I don't say I didn't care, because obviously I would have loved to have had the lead. But even then, I was just oh, okay, well,
yeah, we're still tied. Still even. They wasted a part of a power play that they could have gone and scored early on, right, and be out ahead. It was tied, and then I think we scored next, right? Was it 2-1?
I think so.
At some point, I don't know. Remember who scored? It was Mark Stone. It was that the second goal was Mark Stone, that slapper from
the blue line.
From the blue line, yeah. and it went 5-hole on Gustafson.
That was, again, just another moment where I was like, brother, we're winning this. Like,
Yeah.
his Eichel's going.
Stone's going. Yeah.
Like, it's happening.
Yeah, and then the third, unfortunately, we just let Boldy get away on a breakaway. But, went to overtime, and Brett Howden.
Well, I was going to say, we should talk about, before we get to overtime, third period starts, and fucking Marc Andre Fleury's out there.
Yeah. It was, they didn't pull Gustafson. It was...
He was ill.
So that means it was bad enough how sick he was that he had to get pulled. That had to be pretty goddamn bad because he played really, really well this entire series.
I guess Fleury said before the game that he was already getting sick, and like he gave Fleury a heads up, like, I don't know if I want to make it through the whole game, but I'll try.
Well, there's been something going around in locker rooms, right? Back into the year, probably like the flu or something.
Well, I honestly feel like that's why Eichel had such a slow start. I think he was
he was coming off of that. Yeah,
still recovering from
because
being sick.
it was Olofsson, Haig, Petro, and somebody else were all sick at the same time, right?
And then remember Howden just got sick.
Yeah.
Something's obviously gone around.
Yeah.
But anyways, we didn't even realize Fleury was out there until suddenly there's a Fleury chant going, and at first we're like, guys, now's not the time.
No.
We all want to say goodbye, and then we realize, like, oh shit, he's in the net. We're like, that's why they're chanting. I thought
what happened? Yeah.
Yeah, we're like, oh fuck. We're like, okay. And as much as I love Fleury, my first thought was our chances of winning this game just skyrocketed.
Yeah, you go from a guy that Gustafson has been playing so well to, unfortunately for Fleury, he's older, had an okay season. Cold. You're going to have a better chance of scoring on him, right? He made some good saves in the third period in the overtime, and then into that overtime, man, this fourth line that was put together is Howden, Pearson, and Waugh. They had a great game, and Brett Howden finishes another overtime.
Well, Alex, you skipped another important event. Probably the story of this game.
John Hines.
The goal getting called back.
No,
well, that was even farther before when John Hines made a stupid fucking goalie interference.
Let's rewind this all back. I got too ahead of myself. Mark Stone scores, and immediately after the goal, John Hines challenges it for goaltender interference.
And we're like, what? And then
everybody in the audience was like, for what? For like, even the Wild fans that were nearby, they're like, why?
Well, even when you're there in person, I feel like it's always kind of like, oh, did I miss something?
Yeah.
Plus, I think the net was on the other. We were at the other net when that happened.
Yeah. They were shooting on the other side.
I was like, damn. I hope something obvious didn't happen and I missed it. I'm gonna feel like an idiot. Well, then they showed the replay, and I was like, this will get covered because
of what Jim Hiller did.
Exactly. Yeah. Like Jim Hiller's going to take all the flack in our memories.
This was dumber.
This was dumber.
This was a horrible challenge. Like, so Carlson was in front of the net, nowhere near. He was right on the top of the blue on the blue paint, just right in front of the crease, not impeding Gustafson at all. And then don't remember who the Wild player was, or defenseman forward, whatever it may be. I guess he kind of tripped or like just pushed Carlson, that like Carlson to go backwards and fall over, and very lightly tap Gustafson before as the puck was going in.
It was
nowhere close.
Very minor contact. I'm pretty sure it was outside the line.
It was. Yep.
Because Gus was way out to challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he should.
And he got shoved. He got hooked down by the Wild player. Yeah. So that was another moment where I was like, we're winning this game. And even if we don't win this game, we're winning this series because John Hines just exposed himself as a back coach.
Yeah, that was an abysmal call to try to. There's nothing there. Like, I even saw in quite a few hockey YouTubers, hockey personalities and everything. They're like, "What are you doing?" Like, there's nothing there. Like, why would you even risk that? Luckily for them, we didn't score on that power play, but it could have been 4-2, right at that point, right?
Well, that and what have they been good at a lot during the series? We score, and then they come back and get one.
Yeah.
So he basically robbed himself of that opportunity to get the goal back by saying, "Well, now we got to kill a penalty, so I can't put Kaprizov and Boldy out there."
Yeah.
And so then that was a big moment.
That was a big moment. And then third period, Boldy scores, so it's all tied. And then I remember I don't know how I forget this part. Next goal, it's Hartman comes down with Nyquist and somebody else, and Hartman scores.
Mm-hmm.
This building is deflated.
Yeah, I remember I was like, okay, I'm going to grab my poster.
This building
let's beat the traffic.
Building is deflated.
I will say, though, even though I was like, okay, this game's probably over, I still had this weird feeling. I was like, we're going to win this series, though.
Yeah, everybody was so deflated. It was in the moment, it was awful.
Well, and then they say, okay, it's getting reviewed for a kicking motion. Important to note, this is not a coach's challenge.
This was Toronto.
Yeah, because I think within X amount of minutes of the end,
they're allowed to,
they just check everything. So I'm like, oh, maybe we're gonna get a little Deus Ex Machina here.
Was not a kicking motion.
I said, then they show the replay, and I'm like, that's not
even close.
Not a kick. They're
close.
not taking that off.
No.
And then I said
redeflated,
deflated,
and then you bring a little bit of hope back when the bench goes, no, challenge it. It's offside. And sure as shit, clear as fucking day, I saw so many people whining about it, but
millimeters.
Gustav Nyquist was a solid 2 inches, 3 inches.
Oh, more than that.
Like he was
almost like half a fucking foot.
Yeah,
off.
he was so far off the blue line because Hartman's coming. The whole that angle doesn't show it, but then the angle straight down the blue line is just you see Hartman. The puck is right before the blue line, and then fucking Nyquist is way off.
Yeah, it was not even close.
So far off, and you could tell Nyquist was like, "Shit."
Well, it's funny because one, as soon as they said they're challenging for offside, I was immediately like, "Oh, well, that's a crystal clear."
Yeah.
People complain about these offside reviews, and I don't know why, because they always complain about goaltender interference. Why do they complain about goalie interference? Well, it's so vague. I don't know the rules. It feels so random.
Offside's very black and white.
Offside is like the easiest, most black and white rule to call.
There is a straight line. If you're over the line, the puck's not, you're offside.
Exactly. That's literally all there is to it.
And I saw a lot of cooling down afterwards, and everybody, even Wild fans, were like, they teach you fucking in junior hockey, straddle the line until the guy goes over.
Well, yeah, Nyquist did not even try to drag his skate. He just shot over.
Yeah.
So yeah. Got called back, and
suddenly the building was back alive. Like everybody was just it was just like a continuous little roar in the building.
Well, and even before that moment, like the last 5 minutes of the third, maybe everyone was on their feet, and I feel like Mark Shinnock in the Castle's always telling everyone, get on your feet. No, you don't actually get on your feet because it's a hockey game. You want everyone to be able to see.
Everyone
was on their feet. I'd never been on my feet for such an extended period in a game, including in the finals.
Yeah.
And, the gold, I love those gold battle towels because between that and the jerseys, that building just looks like it's fucking glowing gold.
Yeah.
And, man, it was just craziness. And then that goal comes back, and then we make it to overtime. We're like, oh, my God. The Deus Ex Machina.
we're still alive. And then rather quickly into the first period, because not like the last game where that took quite a while and there was a lot of back and forth. 4 minutes into the period, Brett Howden scores from a beautiful feed from Tanner Pearson on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Something that, we knew Tanner Pearson had it in him, but he probably knew Brett was there, and just a nice backhand pass from the wall across the ice, and
Brett's just scoring right now.
3 goals. Him and Tomas Hertl lead the team in goals.
Mm-hmm.
Brett Howden, also a fun fact. You want to guess who has the most overtime winning goals in Golden Knights history?
Why? That must be Brett Howden.
It's Brett Howden.
Because I still remember crystal clear that goal against Dallas in the conference finals.
He almost ended it the other night too in game 4. He almost ended it himself.
Such a weapon.
He is such a utility player. I'm so glad we got him for significantly cheap.
And I still remember all these smart ass, bloggers and stats. People are like, wow, you really decided to overpay him because he's having a career year. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
You have no idea.
Shut the fuck up.
No idea about Brett Howden.
Guess what? Contract already paid for with that goal alone.
Exactly. So, great game. We were just beat. It was so much fun.
So fun. God. So electric, jumping up and down.
The whole getting out of there, and every single person leaving the building, going down the stairs, going through the concourse, screaming out, "Let's go!"
It was just echoing, and it was just it was wild. And then, no pun intended. And then, as we were walking back to the casino, I crashed so hard.
I was tired. Yeah.
Like I said, it was like almost 11 at night. And then it was
you're out in the sun all day.
I'd been there since 1, didn't eat dinner, and I was just like, oh God. I literally did not feel better until yesterday.
Yeah,
because yesterday
I think so too.
Yesterday I slept in until like 11 a.m.
Yeah,
and finally I woke up for the first time since that game. I woke up. I'm like, oh, I feel well rested.
Yeah. No, it was it was crazy, super fun. Team played really well. Aiden Hill played great. I think this was Aiden Hill's easily his best game.
Oh yeah.
He had, let's see, he had a 909, 20 saves on 22 shots. I mean, again, this goes without saying that Philip Gustafson wasn't in the net for overtime. If he was, that overtime could have gone long. We could have been there until 1 a.m.
No,
because Gustafson has played so, like, if there's any Wild fans listening to this, I doubt there are. Philip Gustafson had a great series.
Yeah,
this is a series that he needed to say, okay, I'm actually one of the best goaltenders he's having, and he was great.
But even then, I will say, the
whole team was playing really well.
But as far as like the overtime goal, like that was such a nasty opportunity. I'm like, I don't think Gus would have stopped it either.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone would have stopped it.
It was a lot like not in the same boneheaded way that the Marshy goal against Edmonton was. Remember when the entire Edmonton team would go the other way, and Marshy was just the first guy to the puck. It was bad in that too many Wild players were in that corner with Pearson. I think there was like 3 guys there.
Yeah,
and there was only one guy coming back to Brett Howden to get to him.
He floated directly down in prime shooting position, and then
I buried it.
That, and I'm just like, I just don't think anyone, including the Knights, expected Pearson to be able to make that pass.
It was incredible, and obviously great game. And then that rolls into, you want anything else about this game 5?
Just a quick note on that that was our fourth line, and we've seen some other series where teams are not playing their fourth lines, and it's costing them.
It here in a little bit,
but the fact that we, 2 overtime games in a row,
finished it,
and then
off of a rush, off of good passing plays. That the Barbashev goal was off a great passing play from Riley Smith,
and it was using our depth.
Yes, and it wasn't Jack Eichel, it was Mark Stone, it wasn't Tomas Hertl.
It was Bruce Cassidy having trust and faith in his fourth line and his bottom pair. So
and they went out and did it. Yeah, because it was Nick Hague and Zach Whitecloud that were out there. Yeah, it's an assist from Hague. So, great game. That rolls into game 6. That was on Thursday. Obviously I listened to most of this in the car. I think you did too, because you were getting back from work. I was picking up my wife from some meetings. But I'm telling you, when that 4-minute double minor happened, I was like, okay, and listen to the way it was described, and then I'm sitting in the car waiting for her and just hearing Shea Theodore scores. I'm just sitting there like shaking my car. I was screaming.
I was on the 95 by that point, by downtown, like where the Circa is. And he scored, and I was just like slapping my steering wheel, and I was like, yes.
No, it was. I did replay that high stick. It was pretty bad. It could have been a major from what
from what Gary and Dan were saying on the radio. They were like, yeah, that was just complete idiotic, blatant, like intent to injure, like bullshit.
Yeah,
and I guess John Hines was wigging out on the refs. I'm like, you should be wigging out on your players, Marco Rossi, who's been playing on your fourth line, and
who's been pretty good. He's been really good.
Well, he's been playing only 10 or 11 minutes a game, and the first thing he does to have an impact on the game is to take a double minor to start an elimination game.
2 minutes in, and then Hartman scored, which was I think this started happening too little too late for them, in that their depth started scoring. If that makes sense, right?
No, I agreed.
If Hartman and Foligno and all their depth was scoring, and Johansson were scoring game 2, this series could have been different, and we could have been going home at this point.
Yeah,
I think it took a little bit too long for them to get there, but that's more of a testament to the depth of us being able to shut down everything.
Well, it was kind of
the Boldy line.
It's kind of the opposite of what happened with us, right? Like, it took our stars a while to get going.
Or our depth was like, we're here, we've been here.
Exactly, and it was kind of our depth keeping us in it. And then, I will say, and again, I missed the whole first period. I was only listening on the radio.
Yep, same.
But just judging by the radio call, I was like, it feels like we're really losing the 5-on-5 battle.
Yes.
And I got to Mojave right when the first period ended, put my jersey on, walked in, sat down with everyone.
Yep.
And the last minute goal and everything I heard, I was like,
oh yeah, that was awful.
At that point, I was like, I think we might lose this game. This might go 7.
You can't give up a goal. What was it? The last 5 seconds, maybe 4 seconds of the game.
Yeah,
literally right before the horn, you give up that, and you hope that this team isn't completely deflated, right, going into the period. But of course, you're tied. It's 1-1. But like you said, we weren't playing well on the 5-on-5.
Yeah, we got outshot 12-8.
Yeah, we were getting bodied on the 12. Jesus Christ. 5-on-5, but
that's 12-on-12.
And then the second period, obviously I listened to this too because I got there like halfway through. From everything I heard, and obviously you were watching it, so I'm sure you might have a different opinion, but it sounded like a much better period, a completely different period.
Well, I guess so, but to me, I was still kind of worried. There were large stretches of it where it felt like we were still losing the 5-on-5 battle and still just getting outplayed, frankly.
Yeah, so going to the second, Eichel scored, and that's great, right? Because he had been assisting but not scoring.
Yeah, that's where it kind of turned around for us. But man, we can't just say that he scored. That pass from Mark Stone, was fucking insane.
Yeah,
insane.
Yeah,
and you know what's funny is it kind of mirrors Game 2, I think, when Kaprizov had a pass like that to Boldy, and Boldy got in and scored.
Yeah, it was the Eichel breakaway.
If you look at it, they were. I think Eichel was behind Stone right before he passed it. He just looked and saw he had a lane.
Okay, yeah.
Did this perfect. I still can't believe it.
It was just like
he popped. Yeah. It was a saucer pass. It landed on the perfect part of the ice, and then it was proceeding at the perfect speed, just in time to hit the lane right as Eichel was skating into it. I could not do that in a million years on solid ground, let alone fucking ice.
The vision and like just the knowing exactly how much he has to put on that puck to make it.
And then the speed, and then Eichel sinks the shot, and obviously that's the image that's burned in everyone's mind. But I just had to emphasize that pass was so insane.
Good. Yeah.
And again, that was a moment where I'm like, suddenly Mark Stone and Jack Eichel are doing Mark Stone and Jack Eichel things, and all of a sudden, this doesn't look close anymore.
No, it really started to feel going the other direction very quickly, right? And we both said, obviously we jump up and celebrate, high five at everybody at Mojave, but we both sat down and both said you cannot give up another goal.
Yeah, keep
at the end of this period. And they didn't. Great. And then going to third, it was a lot of back and forth, not a lot of great chances.
It very quickly got into very tight checking,
very tight, very
elimination game.
Yeah,
type.
We weren't on our heels, but we were more playing smart. Like, let's not let them open up a fast break. Let's not let them get to a play. Let's all play smart. And then that led into Mark Stone batting a puck in right in front of Gustafsson, which was another great play too.
Power play goal.
No, this wasn't power play. This was off. This is at the end of the power play, I think.
Oh,
I think it was even strength because it was Kaprizov had tripping, and that was 2 minutes. So this was right after that ended.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was a 5-on-5 goal. But again, Mark Stone.
I could have sworn it was power play.
No, I think it came off of a power. Yeah. It was not off, but you know what I mean. It was like, close. Yeah.
But yeah. Again, another crazy play by Mark. He really did.
Showed up.
He really did his captain thing in this game.
He showed up into this game. And that's a conversation we can have about captains at a later date. And I think Jared Spurgeon did too. It's just it was a little too late. I mean, I like Jared Spurgeon as a player, and I think he's a perfect captain for the Wild. But you want a guy like Mark Stone to show up, and he sure as shit showed up these last 2 games.
And what's crazy on that goal too is, I mean, obviously batting it in midair. Mm-hmm. But that was Braden McNabb that set that up.
It was
Braden McNabb on the wall doing a little sauce pass to the middle.
Yeah.
You would have been forgiven for thinking it was Jack Eichel.
Yeah.
Look over. I'm like, nope, that was Braden McNabb.
He's got some offensive skill when you let him go a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Stone scores, and then unfortunately, like literally 30 seconds right after that, Ryan Hartman scores again. So all of a sudden it's 3-2, and the Wild are pushing, right?
Yeah, and we're like, uh-oh.
And they pull Gus, and you're like, oh shit, it was much better 3-0, 3-1.
Wasn't it so tense in the brewery? Like,
oh my god, it was dead. You could hear a fucking pin drop.
Yeah, and then like wasn't there like a few whistles towards the end too? And we're like, oh my god, just
shut up,
just get us through these last 2 minutes.
I know, we were like, just fucking hold. Like, yeah, there was like some stoppages, and there's obviously icings and everything. And it's just like you're watching it like click down, like it's been 5 minutes, but really it's only been 15 seconds of game time.
Yeah, no, for real,
oh
it's
my
one of
god,
those.
this is taking forever.
Yeah, but hey, they held strong.
Yeah, they held strong, and the game ended in our zone.
Yeah, no empty net goal. Yep. We didn't have the puck. Yeah. We just held on.
Yeah, we held on
until the clock ran out.
Yeah, and this was a great game too for Hill.
Great game for Hill.
31 shots on goal, 29 saves, 935. His best game of the playoffs.
Well, and that was one thing I really noticed throughout the game, but I didn't want to say it out loud to you because I felt like I would jinx it. And then I remember after the game ended, I was like, so what I wanted to say was I felt like Aiden Hill really took control of this game.
He did. He did.
And you know who else had a really good game? Shea Theodore.
Shea Theodore had a great. I mean,
yeah, 2 points, and then he was out on the ice for that whole 2-3 minute sequence at the end, playing good defense and blocking shots.
The players that started this series off awful,
they
turned around.
Strong.
Yeah, they finished extremely strong. Hill, Theo, McNabb, Stowe, and Eichel, like they really turned around, their series, and that led us into winning the series. In six, despite how awful 2 of those games were, right? Thank God those 2 awful games were, able to be come back from, because we lost those 2 terrible games, right?
Well, it's like we lost 2 terrible games, and then it was more like 2.5 bad games because game 3 they took the lead early, and that's when I was like, it's over.
Yeah. And then
little did I know,
really turned it around, but
little did I know, we would win 3 in a row, including 2 in OT.
Yeah, but again, credit to the Wild. Because they played really great. They played great game.
They reminded everyone why they were in first place until everyone got injured.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were in first place for a good stretch, and then you bring back your 2 best players, or 2 of your best players, and all of a sudden you're pretty damn good. And now they have $20 million in cap space next year.
And I was listening to Empty Netters talking about the series after it ended, and they have connections, and I guess they're friends with a couple guys on the team, and I guess they told them that they're like, oh yeah, they're like, no, that was genuine, they're a really fucking good team, they gave us all we could handle at some points,
on the Knights or
Minnesota. Their friends on the Knights were saying that Minnesota was the real deal.
Oh yeah,
and
there are plenty of all these players are really good players, and they're going to have a chance at some big names. Like if Mitch Marner doesn't resign, John Tavares doesn't resign, there's defensive guys out there. They can make trades. They've got prospects that they can trade for. Zeev Buem is going to play an entire season. Gustafsson looked great. He's going to continue being good.
And then Flower retires, and they're going to bring up Wallstedt probably. Yeah, so that'll be their tandem.
Exactly. They're going to be a good team again. And, I think they're going to be just fine going into next season. But
agreed. But until then, that was another first round loss.
That's something to talk about.
Goodbye.
They haven't won a first round series in 8 years, 9 years, 9.
They're the new Toronto, basically.
Yeah, they're Toronto. Yeah, well, because Toronto won their series. So I know, in hindsight, saying this is a very good team, they've had better teams before, and they haven't made it out of the first round. So, and not to beat on the Wild too long, but does that not reflect on GMs? We talked about how good Bill Guerin was, but your team hasn't gone past the first round. And maybe obviously it's playoff experience. Some of these guys are young, and that's besides the point. Maybe hire a better coach.
Yeah, well, that was another thing with John Hines.
Dean Evison was pretty good.
I can't believe they fired him.
And he almost took Columbus to the playoffs.
Yeah. That man should win Jack Adams. But that was another thing with John Hines where I was like, yeah, this guy's just not a good coach.
Yeah.
So after they put Eichel and Carlson together,
They had no answer.
Nothing. They were fucking chewing up that Brodin pairing and spitting them out.
No answer.
And then even in Game 6,
there was moments where it was Brodin and Faber, right? Mm-hmm. Where Brock Faber's a great defenseman.
They both are.
They're
Faber's like really great.
Really great. But as soon as Carlson and Eichel were out there, Eichel was just doing whatever he wanted against one of them.
And then and you can understand, okay, Game 5, you're on the road, you don't get the matchups that you want.
Sure.
Game 6, he still refused to. He could have reassembled his lines and made a checking line to try to keep Eichel in check.
He refused to. He made it on the fly, but on the fly in that he only moved Kaprizov up and down.
Yeah, and he didn't really stick with that. He just slid Kaprizov around once or twice, but like generally speaking, it was Boldy Kaprizov against the Eichel line, which that worked for you earlier in the series, but it was pretty clear that once Eichel and Carlson were put together, they were taking over, and Hines just kept putting putting the same guys out there against them, and then was confused that they lost, I guess.
Yeah, you could have put like Eriksson Ek. Even Eriksson Ek's a great player. I mean, don't get me wrong, but he's not the fastest guy, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas Eichel and Carlson are very, very, very fast. You could have moved up Rossi or somebody that's...
Marcus Foligno is like one of the best defensive forwards in the league.
Move him up and play him with that. Yeah.
And even if you don't put him with Capri, just make a checking line.
Put him out there more.
Yeah, exactly. Make a checking line and then throw out Boldy and Kaprizov against, the bottom six.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad he didn't do that because it's why we won.
But he didn't make the right changes on the fly, which is something we talked about to start the series, is that Bruce is a better coach.
Oh, yeah.
And it showed, and he made changes, and he stuck with those changes, and it worked.
Before playoffs started, I was talking to my sister, and she was like, okay, so honestly, who do you think's going to win, and why? She's like, because all I see is shit on the internet, and obviously they're all Knights fans, on her social media, and saying oh yeah, we're going to go through them like nothing. And I was like, my honest opinion is we will win.
Yeah, you had six.
And I said, we'll win in 6. And I said, I think people are underestimating the Wild.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, we have the better team. Yep. We have the better coach.
Yes.
And we have home ice advantage. I'm like, we will win.
Yeah. Hey, but we won.
We won.
In Minnesota, though.
I was having some doubts, not going to lie.
Hey,
but we pulled it out.
Won. So, to cap the series off, who do you think the MVP of this series was?
For the Knights or just in general?
For the Knights.
That's hard because, Eichel and Stone and Theodore, they
had some bad games. Honestly, I'm not going to pick a player. I'm picking Bruce Cassidy.
I love that. Let's go with that.
Eichel finally turned it on. You could say he was, and he was great, to finish that series out and to really turn it around. I would say the coaching was the best part of that series with Cassidy. And if you want to argue a player, honest to God, I'd say Brett Howden or Alex Pietrangelo.
Yeah, I was about to say, because at first maybe Thomas Hertl, because he kept us in it when the rest of the top guys
Alex
weren't.
Pietrangelo, holy shit! Again, we brought it up last week. We brought it up the week before. People need to eat their goddamn words.
Yeah.
Oh, get rid of Pietrangelo. He's the only. Him and Haig are the only defensemen that were pluses in in this series, because Alex Pietrangelo is that good.
He is.
He is a man that you need in the playoffs. And, without him, we probably would have lost the series.
Yeah, I agree.
Because of his presence. So
I would agree that probably the true MVP is Cassidy, but for a player, I would say Petro.
Yeah. And then I think we had, obviously we know Eichel, Stone. I would say everybody improved over the entire series. Mm-hmm. And, I think I would say maybe... everybody really started playing better as the series went on. I think I would say one player that does need to step up a little bit more when he's back, if he's back, is Dorofeev.
Yeah, ironically enough, I think the game he got injured in, he was starting to look good, mm-hmm.
Just
as far as the skating.
Yes.
But yeah, I agreed, because he had that power play goal, but that was one timer into an empty net, basically.
And then again, maybe
which takes skill.
Yeah,
and it was important. It was a big goal. But.
And then again, maybe he could be sick too. He could.
No, I think it was an actual injury.
Oh, okay. So
I think it was Ken or someone.
Oh, okay.
Wrote up how like he went and he said there was a moment in the period where like he had made like an uncomfortable move, and then like after that it's like he didn't leave right away, but after that he lost his
everything.
He wasn't capable of any burst of speed on the ice, and then he just left. So sounds like it might be a groin injury.
So. Hopefully he gets back. He has a few days off.
Cassidy keeps saying day to day. So
yeah, we don't play until Tuesday. But to one thing to cap off this series, obviously, Marc Andre Fleury is done. That's his last game, last NHL game, last professional game. Obviously, you saw the big send off at the end of the game. All the guys shook his hand. Everybody on the team stayed on the ice until he left the ice.
Well, we got to see that because we watched scripts, but apparently ESPN decided
didn't play it.
They decided to cut to the anthem in Edmonton. Skip Marc Andre Fleury's final
farewell.
handshake.
That's bullshit, dude.
We got to show some scenic shots of Edmonton and
scenic shots of downtown fucking Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
All fucking 2 square miles of it.
All fucking 5 buildings that look like fucking jail cells, and then Rogers Center. Cool. That's bullshit. Now, good thing we were watching on scripts then. Obviously great send off. This man has a storied career, like top 5 and everything. Basically, you could be in a goaltender, games played, wins. Everything you can ask for, and I obviously for me he's a shoo-in for a first ballot Hall of Fame for hockey.
I cannot wait until that conversation's done so I can stop. You'll still see it, but we can stop seeing people like, well, actually, if you compare his stats to whatever, and he was on the bench for 2 of those finals, and I'm like, shut the fuck up.
He still had multiple. You know what?
One of the best, one of the greats.
Who's we'll talk about him in a little bit. Connor Hellebuck's a great regular season goaltender, but he's been fucking dog shit every playoffs he's been in.
Oh yeah,
been in quite a few in the last few years.
More so than Fleury for sure.
Most so. He's lost series, and you know what? It's horseshit. We're like, well, he'll be in the Hall of Fame, and that means Fleury should too, because Fleury's played for goddamn 20 fucking years.
A phrase that you used in an episode a few months ago when we went on a Fleury rant. The last great Canadian goaltender, and it really feels like that.
No, really, he is, and there's we could fill up an episode about Marc Andre Fleury, but there's the Toronto paddle save that we have right there.
Yeah, I have a statue of that on my desk.
Yeah, the Toronto glove save, and then winning the Vezina.
Winning the Vezina in a year where they try to trade him and make Leonard the starter, and he took over the net.
Yep, and then winning the Jennings that year too. People forget about how good he was that year and how good Leonard was that year too. That was our best goaltending tandem, and I think in the history. I know obviously Hills won cups, but regular season that was the best goaltending we had ever had, and that's why it felt so bad to lose in those playoffs. And just the personality and type of guy is you don't have a lot of those just easygoing, lighthearted.
Every single person that's ever played with him,
nothing but great things.
Nothing but good things to say. There's never been an ill rumor. Never in. He's a nice guy. He's a great player, great team guy. And it's like when we talk about the crowd at T-Mobile, it sounds cliched, but you know what? It's cliched for a reason. And he was such a huge part of hockey in this city and getting this fan base going. My stepdad, he only bought season tickets the first year because he used to live in Pennsylvania and he was a Pittsburgh fan. He's like, we got Fleury in the expansion draft. He's like, okay, well, I guess I'll get, we'll probably be bad, but, I'd like to see Fleury. And look where that's led.
He's been here. Your stepdad's been a season ticket holder for going on, 8 years now?
Yep.
So
it went from that to him and my mom seeing the Stanley Cup get raised in our building.
Yeah, exactly. So, he means a lot to the city.
He is one of the founding fathers.
Yep, and I think...
Founding father of hockey in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I agree. He's a big part, not big, he's one of the biggest parts of why hockey took off so well. It's even for goaltenders too. You don't see a lot of goaltenders like him, short, but not insane. You know what I mean? Where most goaltenders are really weird dudes, or like really like
well, that and like
locked in.
Did you see the mic'd up video of him in the third period against us?
Yeah.
And
He's just having fun.
Third period, on the road playoffs, and he's still just going woo, woohoo, yeah.
He's having a blast.
He's you just don't get attitude like that anymore. You know?
And it's gonna be something that's gonna be a huge miss. Obviously, 20-year career. Good for him. He's gonna hang him up and go probably retire to Montreal or something. I don't know where he's from.
Well, he's been building a house out here.
So he's gonna probably retire here.
He might retire here.
You might see Marc Andre Fleury in the grocery store here.
I know, right? Because Reeves still has a house here.
Yeah, he does. I mean, Smith kept his house here, so. Turns out people like living in Vegas.
I know, kind of crazy. Yeah,
I thought we bought our team.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. I thought we were too cutthroat. No one wants to be here.
And then people are going to love to have him here. I'm sure he'll be a part of the organization in some shape or form. Even if he's just hanging out. Yeah.
It was really special that his last game, last game that he actually played in was at T-Mobile.
Yes, I think so. And I think when we said we didn't notice it, I think those people recognize like this is probably going to be the last time we're ever going to see this guy.
Well, and even to get a chant going in the third period of a playoff game, not a lot of players can evoke that,
especially on the opposing team.
And then even his last regular season game when he was getting some chants, like I almost feel like he was almost like surprised that we did it. Like I don't know, like the divorce between him and the front office was so ugly that sometimes I wonder if he's like, they won the cup, they moved on, they don't remember me. No, we remember you, Flower. We remember you.
This entire city loves you, and they still do. You still see people at every single game, and everywhere I go, you see Flower jerseys all up and down. Everybody still loves that guy. I think 29 might get retired eventually.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
That was too ugly. Too ugly of a
Do you think?
split.
Yeah, I could see. I mean, I could see like 81, 71, and 19 go first.
Even 81 seems...
but they didn't trade him, so...
That's true. And he won the Conn Smythe. I would say that right now the only true shoo-ins are probably Carlson and Smith.
Yeah.
Maybe we can... I don't know.
Yeah, we'll worry
about that later.
Still down the line. It's quite a bit.
We're still alive.
We're still alive.
We're still in our current glory days.
Let's not go too far back.
This is a discussion for when we're in a losing season and we're depressed.
Obviously, Flower made a huge deal. Great career. Doubt he'll ever hear this, but thank you for how many years? 4 or 5 years. Great times. But
thank you for your service. I salute you.
But to round 2.
One last thing on this Wild Series. The amount of complaining about the refs and the officiating that we've had to endure the last 2 weeks is sickening.
Yeah,
it is sickening.
Granted, I would say in almost every series there was something wrong with the refereeing. I'm not denying that. There is no calls, bad calls, missed calls, underdone calls, shit in the Lightning and Panthers series. That was a fucking nightmare for refereeing. There are so many things that could have been called, and they weren't.
Well, that's just part of hockey, which you would think the state of hockey would understand.
And the amount of the whining I heard or read, just like, well, they didn't call this, or this happened. Look at this slow-mo piece. I'm like, well, I was right in front of him. Why didn't they call it? I'm like, it's the playoffs. We're not.
Well, even then, it's just like Vegas or Wild versus refs, and I'm like, okay, well, Vegas versus the fucking Minnesota gold medal diving. Yeah, there was a lot of dives.
Oh yeah, Ryan Hartman was flying all over the fucking ice.
And like I said, fucking Matt Zuccarello doing the dead Peter Griffin pose behind the net.
Yeah, it's of course they're trying to draw calls, as you should in the playoffs, because you want to get that advantage, right?
How many first round series have they lost? No, like 8, 9.
so maybe it hasn't worked.
Must have been a lot of bad refereeing in all those series.
It can't be the team or the coaching, right?
What a terrible run of luck for the Minnesota Wild. Sorry, guys.
Shucks. But onto round 2. A round that we'll now see probably less penalties, as we know and we've seen many times. Mm-hmm. Before we get to our matchup, we can go through the 3 remaining matchups real quick. One's not even decided yet. But we can go through the East. So
is it though? Isn't it? Is it not though?
Jets and Blues?
I think do we really think the Jets are going to have a chicken shit chance of winning?
Oh, let's wait to bring that up, because I think I agree with you. But Caps and Canes. So the Caps beat the Habs in 5. Canes beat the Devils in 5. I think.
You have fallen into our Quebecois trap. We wanted to lose in 5. You think we really wanted to win?
They'll probably make the playoffs next year. It's going to be just as insufferable. Can't wait for that. But Caps and Canes, this series I think is going to be pretty goddamn good.
This is going to be a banger.
This is going to be really good. Going from 2 series that I could not give 2 shits about to now our series I think is going to be
agreed
really, really good because both these teams match up really, really well, right?
And they fucking hate each other.
They hate each other. They're all big. They're all defensively sound. They all can score. They all hate each other. LT's is playing well, the Caps, and I think Anderson might be back because I know he got injured.
Yeah, he's back.
Okay, so he was playing great, right, against the Devils. And this series is going to be, from what we saw with the other 2 series, I think this series is going to be fucking insane. Like,
agreed. I think it's going to be physical. I think so. Not going to be a lot of room out there.
Protas is back, and you saw how much of a difference it was already against the Habs, right? And that's a big body that can score that you need, and Tom Wilson's been playing really well. Ovi's been playing. Everybody on the cast has been playing well, but the Canes have been playing out of their goddamn minds too. Yeah. Like, they're scoring and they're defending well.
Well, and that's the thing is it happens every year. The first round or 2, they look amazing because of the style that they play. But then they crash because of the style that they play and how
I can see
how
that.
demanding it is. So maybe it'll be this series, maybe it'll be the next. I don't know.
We can give our previews of
our predictions.
So we do 3, 2, 1.
I've put zero thought into this.
Just off your brain. 3, 2, 1. Caps and 6.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. So we have opposites, but we will say it's 6. I mean,
I honestly,
it could go either way.
Yeah, I feel like they both have their flaws, but
yes.
I don't know. I think LT's feeling it right now,
playing really well. He's been playing great. But next one, a matchup we saw last year: Leafs and Panthers. Leafs made it out of the second round for the first round, second year in a row. You know what? This is a better team than they had last year.
They didn't make it out of the first round last year.
Or 2 years ago.
It might have been 2 or maybe even 3.
Was it not last year?
No, last year they lost to Boston in 7.
Oh yeah, and that's right.
Boston lost to the Panthers.
Yeah, that's right. It was 2 years ago. It was when the Panthers beat Boston, the Leafs beat the Lightning.
Yes.
Well, it was our cup year when the Leafs made it.
Yeah, which by the way, fucking. My bracket is horribly busted.
It's been fucking... The only one
I had Tampa in the finals.
Yeah, the only one I had right was Caps and Canes.
Clown nose for me. Yep, egg me on too. My face.
Hey, that series, I don't know what happened there, but,
I'll tell you what happened. Nikita Kucherov hasn't scored a goal in 15 playoff games.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. That's the thing. We talked about Kucherov, Gensel, Point. Nikita Kucherov completely fucking disappeared.
I said talking about your stars disappearing.
That was... that. Thank God Jack Eichel, turned that around. We'd be talking about him like he's Nikita Kucherov, but last 15 playoff games he hasn't scored. Wow, that's not good.
I think it was 15, maybe it was 10. It was a ludicrous number.
Lot, yeah, or
ludicrous number.
And to be in heart contention and not do anything, right?
It's insane. He has an Alexander Barkov problem.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, but Leafs and Panthers, I think they match up really well. Stolarz has been playing really well. Bob has been playing pretty good, but I think Stolarz is different in that he is like Hill. That doesn't he won't let you stand in front of his net.
Yeah.
Both these teams are good. That being said, let's 3, 2, 1. I think we have the same opinion.
Let's think about it. Because I will say, I know it's a cliche, but I do think the Leafs are different this year.
They are. They are a better team than they've been in a long time.
They're a lot grittier and a lot more defensive.
Craig Berube.
A lot better goaltending.
Craig Berube.
They're like a real team now.
Is a difference maker, too. Like we talk about Bruce. Berube is really good. All right, let's do it. 3, 2, 1.
Panthers and 5. So
that being said,
I had to give the Leafs a little pat on the back there.
I said Panthers and 6. But, I think the Panthers are going to win. I think it'll be closer than you think it's going to be. And shit, I hope the Leafs prove me wrong. But I just think the Panthers, like after doing what they did to the Lightning, I think they're going to have no problem with the Leafs.
I mean, pretty much. I didn't think they would look like this.
No, they look great.
They're reminding everyone of exactly who they are.
Alex Clinton, underestimated the Florida Panthers.
Yep, same. I think we all did, but yeah. So I don't know. I think
they start tomorrow, right? Monday.
I think so.
And then the Caps and Canes are on Tuesday, and so are we on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of hockey. We'll see how that first goes, because it's going to be in Toronto, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're the number 1 seed. So the next one, Jets
I'll just
real quick.
Last thought is Toronto's a lot better, but I still think the Panthers are just going to take their fucking lunch money.
I think so. They're just heavier, nastier, just better. But then again, that Leafs third line has really showed up. The one with what's his name? Guy, completely forgot. Little
Max Domi.
That one showed up pretty goddamn well against the Sens, and they were playing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But the last one before we get to us, Jets or Blues versus the Stars. Jesus Christ, the Central Series.
Yeah.
So let's touch on the Stars and the Avs. The Avs, I don't know if you keep Jared Bednar as the coach. I don't know if you keep your GM. You fucking blew it. They
really
completely
nothing more
blew
to
this series.
The Stars won that series without Miro Heiskanen or Jason Robertson.
Yep.
Their best D-man and arguably their best forward, or one of their best forwards.
Top 2, top 3 forward.
And they still...
Second best forward.
The Avs still couldn't beat them.
And the Avs loaded up on every single position.
Yep, they brought in...
Their center depth.
Brock Nelson, Charlie Coyle, Mackenzie Blackwood.
Jack Drury.
Yeah, they...
brought back Landeskog.
And what's crazy is
Landeskog looked good.
He was playing well, and he got better each game. Yeah. Like, I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought like he'd play like 1 or 2 games, and then he'd get scratched.
Yeah, and then Nathan McKinnon.
By the end of the series, he looked like Landeskog.
Yeah, Nathan McKinnon's had an insane year. Or Lekkinen been scoring, and you know what? Who bit them in the ass? It was Peter DeBoer, and also it was fucking Mikko Rantanen.
Yeah,
we talked about Mikko Rantanen not really doing much, and he wasn't. And in over the last few games, he really heated up to the point where he took over that series.
11 points in 3 games to finish that series.
Took over that series.
It just goes to show that, you know, you talk about playoffs and how playoffs are different and how you need a certain type of guy, and
that type of guy.
Yeah, and you know, people don't like to admit it because it's not a statistic. It's not, you know, a measurement. But some guys just got it in them, and some guys don't.
Yeah.
Mikko Rantanen fucking has it in him.
He's got that dog in him.
He's got that dog in him.
As the kids used to say. But Jets and Blues, I don't want to spend too much time on, because we want to talk about our matchup, but like, what the fuck what are we just gonna keep deluding ourselves that Connor Hellebuck's gonna do anything in the playoffs?
I truly thought that because I was the one that was kind of playing devil's advocate. I'm like, look, he had 2 bad years in a row, but overall his playoff numbers aren't that bad.
They weren't horrible.
And then 4 Nations,
he was great.
He was pretty good. They lost, but not through any fault of his.
No.
He had 1 bad goal, but then he recovered, and I'm like, see, that's the important thing. Can you recover?
Yep.
Can you stop the snowballing?
Yep.
He has not been stopping the snowballing.
It's turned into
even the first 2 games, I was looking at some of those goals, and I was like, a lot of these, like, I don't know if I'd put them on him. Like, his team kind of put him in a tough spot.
That's also true. Their defense has been playing god awful.
But then by like game like 4 or 5 or whatever it was, like, it was just inexcusable. And then the last game that I watched, like, one of those goals was so bad.
But listen, the only time that the Blues have scored less than 3 goals was game 2.
Christ.
1 goal in game 2. Game 1, they scored 3. Game 3, they scored 7. Game 4, they scored 5. Game 5, they scored 3. Game 6, they scored 5.
He's choking.
And it's like, well, he's awful. He's awful away. He's been pretty bad at home too. Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Let's look at the. Granted, you know, Binnington's right there at 900. He's 3-3, 0.897. Connor Hellebuck is also 3-3. He's got a .815.
Yeah, that ain't going to cut it.
That's awful. And against the Blues team that snuck in, wild card 2, but they're
missing one of their best goal scorers.
Missing Dylan Holloway, and then going into Game 7 tonight, the Jets are now missing Mark Scheifele. He's out. I think the Blues are going to win tonight.
I think
they're going to win in Winnipeg, and that arena is going to be, what happened? I'm like, I'll tell you what happened. Connor Hellebuyck fucking sucks in the playoffs. Like, he needs to figure something out. Like, I don't care how many Vezinas you win. If you can't get out of the first round, it doesn't matter.
Well, it's like we said earlier, people love to give Flowers shit for being on the bench for 2 of them. I'm like, well, guess what?
It's time to bench him. Yeah,
he also was off the bench for one of them.
Yeah, he was,
and he also led us to 2 conference finals.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
So
what has Hellebuyck done since he lost in the finals to us, conference finals to?
Want some Vezinas?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah, it's just.
I think it's gonna be Blues versus Stars. And unfortunately, the Stars are going to win that one.
Well, I was going to say, it's almost a moot point because whoever wins is going to fucking get smoked by the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, because they're going to have Heiskanen in Robo back.
Did you? Was it just me, or did you feel a little chill go down your spine watching what they did?
Your spidey sensor, you felt a disturbance in the force.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah, no, like.
An evil power has risen in the West.
I don't think it was so much. Here's the thing, because I think the Stars are a good team. They got really good forwards, and their defense wasn't without Heiskanen. Their defense isn't really that good. But I'll keep banging this drum, and so will you. Peter DeBoer is one of the best coaches in the league. You know, he hasn't won a cup final. He's been to multiple cup finals. He's been to multiple conference finals. I will refuse to hear Peter DeBoer slander in that he's a bad coach. He's a great coach.
He's a good coach.
He's taken quite a few teams deep, multiple years, and that was the X factor. And everybody's like, "Well, Jared Bednar took a team to the Stanley Cup." I'm like, he didn't have to play Peter DeBoer, did he?
Yeah, well, that and like that roster was so ridiculously stacked. So
yeah,
I was like,
that was a fucking mutant fucking team. Like, and DeBoer outcoached him, and DeBoer played everything he needed to play. And you know what? Going to get Mikko Rantanen, that's a factor too. I personally think, I don't remember who the GM of the Avalanche is. That man should be fired.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like he. You know, we're talking about how they made such great moves to rebuild this team on the fly, because you look at how that team was opening night, and we were calling it out. We're like, this team is bad.
Well, I mean, we won like 8-4 or some shit like that. And obviously they fixed what they needed to fix, right?
Because
in Blackwood's defense, he's inexperienced in the playoffs.
And also, one thing we didn't mention, Cale Makar fucking sucked. Like, there's
he was awful.
No ways around it.
Taves were awful.
He was the ghost, you know.
Like, let's see. I know we don't want to stick on this too long, but it's a major thing. Like, everybody was like abs. But let's find that series. Here we go. I want to look at Cale Makar's stats. Jesus, 7 games played, 1 goal, 4 assists. 5 points -1, and he was on the ice for 26 minutes a night.
Yeah, so I guess 5 points isn't too bad, but there was just so many defensive plays that he just looked bad on.
He looked awful. Like in Taves too. Well, Taves was a plus, so maybe he was out there for some things that Cale wasn't out there for. But you know, they weren't playing their game. They weren't playing up to snuff. Obviously, Nathan McKinnon was insane, right? 11 points. That's Nathan McKinnon.
And also one of their additions, Charlie Coyle. He was awful.
Absolutely disappeared. Charlie Coyle was -4. Charlie Coyle was awful. Jonathan Drouin was awful. Like, you know, obviously maybe they bring back Nelson. He's 33. He can be right back, but then all of a sudden you get super old, right? But yeah, I just think the Avs, nothing against the Stars. I think they're a good team. The Avs should have won this series.
They should have, but again, the fact that the Stars did that without Heiskanen and Robertson, it's scary.
Yeah, so. But let's do quick 3, 2, 1. Stars versus, I think we all know. 3, 2, 1, Stars in 5.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the Blues might push back. I mean, because Cam Fowler's been insane, right?
He has.
He's been really good, and he's a great addition for them. But I still think the Stars are going to win again, and that's unfortunate for us.
Yep, but first things first.
Gotta get through our matchup first. So that leads into our series with the Oilers. And before we touch on our series, I want to bring up that, holy shit, the LA Kings, for the 4th year in a row.
You blew it!
God, like, what the fuck did they, like, obviously, Todd McClellan was there last year, right? And I don't remember how far that series went.
It only went to 5.
5, okay.
It was the shortest, I think.
But the Oilers were a lot better last year than they were this year, I think.
Mm-hmm. Oh, easily.
And you know what? The Kings, we said this, and I still think this is true. This was the best Kings team they've had in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, just call it what they should have won that series.
They should have. And Jim Hiller blew it. Like with that that coach's challenge, changing his entire fucking game plan instead of rolling all of his depth. He goes, I'm gonna roll 3 lines and do 2 pairs.
Well, all that, and every time they had a lead, they're like, okay, now
let's step off the gas. Yeah,
exactly. Like, all right, now let's just turtle up and no, you can't do that against the Oilers. You can't.
Kemper was pretty good that series. Skinner was atrocious, and obviously he got pulled for Picard. And even Picard wasn't much better though. Like
he really wasn't.
He had one good game, and then everybody's like, "Well, Calvin Picard's been great." I'm like, you look at all those games aside from maybe one, he's had a sub like 850.
Yeah,
it's like the Kings should have won this series. And they let McDavid and Draisaitl get out of control. Mm-hmm. They let the scoring get out of control, and they just didn't play their game.
And that's the thing, and it's a point I'll harp on later, but it wasn't even just McDavid and Draisaitl. Like that first game or two, it was, but they got scoring up and down the lineup.
Yeah,
and,
they got. I mean, Knobloch's a good coach. Like I personally think he's. I know everybody made fun of him last year. Like, well, that's just McDavid's junior coach. I'm like, turns out he's pretty good at getting guys to buy in.
Certainly better than Jay Woodcroft.
Oh, league's better than Jay. This is the best coach they've had in, I would say, it's in the McDavid era probably.
Yeah, he utilizes his depth.
Yes.
He makes sure everyone has an identity.
And he's got a smart defensive structure.
Yeah, and he knows how to coach that structure.
Yes.
He isn't just like, okay, do it. Like he knows how to get them to do it.
I agree. Teach it. So obviously we've been through this team of the Golden Knights, what they've done. I do have the playoff stats. They're not pretty.
Should we do we want to do a prediction?
Prediction first? Yeah, let's do a prediction first. I mean, this is probably going to be the most obvious fucking prediction in the goddamn world.
Yeah, maybe prediction, then maybe we can
make a reason.
Give some big picture ideas before we drill into the numbers too much.
Yeah.
Because my eyes will glaze over if we go through this.
Yeah, no, totally.
Okay, so
rematch of
Oilers.
The Cup run, right? Rematch of round 2. Vegas Oilers, very different teams now than they were 2 years ago.
Vegas 1-6 last time.
Vegas 1-6. 3, 2, 1. Vegas and 6. So I think 6-2.
I said 5.
You said 5. Yeah, I obviously we like this team better than the Oilers, but I don't want to fall into the trap in that, we have a better team, but this team can execute better than Jim Hiller can, right?
Yeah.
Bruce Cassidy's much better coach than Jim Hiller is, as evidenced by the Wild Series, right? Making adjustments on the fly. A big stat that our friend Lance from Mojave showed us and that we've talked about, Jack Eichel is a nightmare matchup for Connor McDavid.
Yeah, let me
pull that. Pull that stat up. Was that from like Big Hit Hockey? I think.
Yeah.
Pull that stat up. But Jack Eichel is a great matchup for Connor McDavid because he has the speed and he's got the ability. And now you have effectively created a defensive line of Karlsson, Eichel, and Stone to match up with the speed and ability of Draisaitl and McDavid, which I think they'll keep together.
Yeah, and so far this year, when Eichel and McDavid are on the ice together, I don't know if this counted for nations or not,
Probably not.
Jack
Probably
Eichel did a fantastic job of shutting him down.
Again, we keep repeating this. The only reason Canada won that game is because of a bullshit icing call, and Austin Matthews was stuck on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jack Eichel sure as shit was ready to go.
Yeah, so this year, Eichel versus McDavid, they were on the ice at the same time for 26 minutes, 28 seconds. Mm-hmm. In that time, Connor McDavid only had a 35.02% goals for percentage. He was outshot 13-6, outscored 2-1.
Wow.
So, and then like I said it,
and how good Eichel had played in the last 3 games of the Wild Series too. Mm-hmm. He was on a point streak, right? He had, I don't remember the number it ended on in that series, but he was when we were watching Game 6, he had like 4 or 5 points in 3 games, something like that. So he's been really heating up.
What it really comes down to, I think, is McDavid and Draisaitl are going to score.
Oh, of course.
And they're going to score a lot.
Just slow them down. Slow them down as much as possible, but then score on their depth.
Exactly.
Which you can. This team totally can.
And really, I look back to 2023. I think we are better than we were in 2023. And I think Edmonton is a lot worse than they were in 2023. Which is kind of why I said 5 instead of 6. And that can blow up in my face. We might fucking get swept. I don't know.
Who knows?
But and it looks like from practice, Cassidy is keeping Eichel and Karlsson together.
They've been great together. But
if they're going to keep McDavid and Draisaitl together, this is the line that you can play against that line, and then you can send out Tomas Hertl
with Brandon Saad and Dorofiev, and then send out Nick Waugh with Barbashev and Smith, and then send out Kolesar, Howden, and Pearson.
Yes. I feel like I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, but I think and these are all things that we said about LA, and then LA lost in 6. But we are deeper.
LA didn't have Bruce Cassidy.
Yeah, true.
LA didn't have a coach that on the fly can make adjustments, right? And of course, the 2 games we lost, obviously we allowed 5 goals, but we didn't allow more goals than that the other series, right? We kept them to 2-3.
And that's the thing too. It's like we had such a hard time containing Kaprizov and Boldy. So I'm like, are we really going to be able to contain Draisaitl and Eichel or McDavid?
Yeah.
We've seen it before, but again, that was then, this is now. Nothing's guaranteed,
I think the difference though is that this season we really didn't play them with Kaprizov on the ice, so it was a little bit of a game plan where we have played this exact team a lot, and we know this team outside of maybe a couple players very well. Obviously we know Evander Kane, what he's going to do, but we haven't played the team with Trent Frederick, and even then, outside of Matthias Janmark, the depth wasn't. Matthias Janmark had a good series against LA.
Well, that's the thing though. Their depth, they did get a lot of depth scoring because. So we talk about our depth and how good it is. We had 12 players with a goal.
Yeah.
Edmonton had 13 players with at least a goal.
Yeah. Huh?
So I'm not saying it's a wash. I do ultimately think our depth is better, but another big thing, it wasn't just, Jim Hiller blowing it. Also, Trent Frederick had a rough start to that series, but as he got healthier, he got better.
Yeah.
Evander Kane had a rough start. As he got healthier and more up to game speed, he got better.
Yeah. So it's gonna be a tight series. I think it's gonna be, a tight checking series. I think just the defense needs to play up to their ability.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
We cannot have those just defensive collapses that we had. Because
the difference with Edmonton is they will execute on it better than Minnesota did. Whereas Minnesota, it would be a 3-1 or 3-1 or 4-0. With Edmonton, it could be 7-0.
That and Edmonton is never out of a game because how many times do they come back from 5-1, 5-2, 4? We are the type of team where we will start to, I don't want to say get lazy, but we definitely tend to take our foot off the gas if we think we're in control.
But we have to keep the foot. Oh yeah,
you cannot do that against Edmonton. Cannot do that.
Yeah, take Game 6 of Minnesota series. We kept the foot on the gas for the most of that game. If you get up, keep your foot on the gas.
Exactly, and it felt like it wasn't until like game 4 or so that we finally started. It finally sunk in that we had to get out of these stubborn habits and execute and keep going the whole way.
Well, I would like to remind everybody we won. It was series was 2-1, then we rattled off 3 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
So this team knows how to win.
And also, 2 of those were in overtime.
Yep.
Playoffs, 5-on-5 overtime.
Yep.
We had the most regulation wins, I think, in the
entire league.
Yeah, so ultimately,
this team knows how to win 5-on-5. Even though sometimes the 5-on-5 play may not look incredible, this team knows how to win 5-on-5.
Yeah, and they know how to win close, stay comfortable in close games.
Yeah, and we got to keep it close. We can't get in a track meet with the Oilers.
Exactly, and that's the thing too. Don't try to, because that's what LA tried to do. They tried to turn it into a track meet, and they got bit in the ass.
Oh yeah, because Edmonton
cannot do that.
That's Edmonton's game is up and down, fast.
Cannot play their game.
Yeah,
got to play our own game.
But yeah, we can real quick talk about. I mean, maybe some of these playoff points. A lot of these are not that great, just because of how bad 2 of those games were. So Barbie was 2 points -4, not great.
That one of those points was an overtime game winner.
Yeah, his 1 goal. And then Eichel he's got 5 points -4, but those 4 were from earlier in the series. He really turned it around that back end of the series. Stone was 4 points -1. Saad, who I think will heat back up as
he will score eventually.
Yeah, because he's had a lot of good chances. 2 points. He's a 0. Hurdle 5 points -2. Dorofiev, I was surprised by this. 2 points -5. But maybe he's dealing with that injury, whatever it may be. Olofsson played only 4 games. He had a point -2. Carlson, 2 points +2. So Carlson's been having a good series. Had a good series. I think he can continue it. Smith's 2 points 0. Howden, 3 goals, 3 points +1. So if he can stay scoring, he'll be good. And then Nick Waugh, who looked really good in that series. I know he's got 3 points and he's a 0, but man, his puck possession in in the corner, and keep maintaining it, allowing his guys behind him to change, and then making something out of nothing or killing time in the corners. He looked really good, and that's going to be a huge X factor for us as a guy that's that big and that skilled and can maintain the puck. And then Colasar was 0-0-0, so didn't do wasn't on the score sheet, but he was doing something. He was there up and down the ice. He was hitting. He was fast. He looked good. And then Tanner Pearson looked good too. Had a point -1.
Yeah, he didn't get a lot of minutes. I'm wondering if Dorofiev comes back, if Pearson comes back out.
I think Pearson might play. If Dorofiev is back, I mean,
what I liked about, I think why he played in those games in Minnesota even before Dory got injured was he just has that North mentality.
Well, if Dorofiev comes back in, it's going to be either Olofsson or Pearson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. Pearson will probably play just because I think Pearson played a little bit better than Olofsson. He was a little bit more visible.
Well, he has a little bit more of that playoff game, right?
Yes.
Simple.
A little bit big, a little bit bigger, north to south played. Doesn't try to do too much. He's going to play the body. He's going to make a big hit. Again, another thing to talk about. I know Barbie it was a minus. We talked about one of his points was that goal in overtime. He had been hitting everything that was moving. Mm-hmm. There was I don't remember what game it was, but just out from the left side of the screen, you see a body fly into a Wild player against the boards, and it's fucking Barbie just laying the shoulder into someone's stomach. So if he keeps playing that game, that's gonna be great for us because we're gonna need that against the Oilers. And then so defense wasn't as bad as you would think because Theo and McNabb obviously had that horrible game, right? Mm-hmm. McNabb has 2 assists, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, or I think he may have done this 2 points maybe. He's a 0, which is good because he had that horrible game. Mm-hmm. Theo's 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, -2. Hannafin, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, -3. White Cloud, 1 assist, a point, and -2. And then here's what we talked about earlier. Alex Pietrangelo, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, +2. Nick Hague, an assist and a point, +1. They were easily our most able pair and our most responsible pair. Alex Pietrangelo was great against the Wild.
Yep.
He had maybe 1 bad play, but I would not put so much on Pietrangelo because the puck kind of squirted out from his stick, and obviously he wasn't fast enough to go pick up to it, whereas Hannafin could have cleaned that up, and he didn't. So Pietrangelo was great, and we're gonna need him. Obviously, Their vivid memories of the last time we played the Oilers, he was extremely frustrated, as was that entire team, and he two-hand chopped the shit out of Leon Draisaitl and got suspended. And he said, if sometimes you have to do that. If the refs aren't going to do anything about it, I'm going to.
Well, yeah, because everyone always leaves out the part where Evander Kane just ran him after the whistle for no fucking reason.
Everybody leaves out Evander Kane pinning Keegan Colasar down in the corner and raining 2 to 3 shots to his ribs while Kane was on top of him and pinning his arms and legs out. And nothing was called for that. No roughing penalty. No fighting major. He could have, in the regular season, you would have been suspended for fucking 10 games for that.
No, exactly. But it's a good thing they didn't call it, because Pietrangelo was able to walk into his hearing and say with a straight face, well, look what you're letting go.
So you're going to let this go.
If you're going to let this happen to my team and I have to step up and protect them because your referees won't, then guess what? That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and that's essentially what won us a cup.
That's really all it... That's all it boils down to, and people, they still bring that up. I can't believe he only got 1 game. I'm like, well, I can, because of that exact reason. Because of the shit Evander Kane was pulling. His defense was written for him before he even walked in the room.
Yeah. No, exactly. And then, this is, obviously I think they changed the pairs up, right? I think it's Hanifin, Pietrangelo. So right now it's McNabb, Theodore. So Hagen, Pietrangelo did play together. And Hanifin, White Cloud last game. So they put the pairs back together. Which, again...
I like those pairs better. So
why break something that was working for you? So I think that's a big part of it. Keep them together and keep it going. Hill was an 880, 283 minus 2.8 goal saves above expected. Not a great start to the series. But...
he finished strong.
As we said... Every game we won, he had progressively better stats. So yes. I think that's a great sign. He started off slow, as with a lot of this team did. I think we may have underestimated the Wild a little bit, and they've really turned it up. And Hill's looked excellent, has looked better every single game.
Yeah, and I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Hill is miles above fucking Stu Skinner or Calvin Pickard. He just is.
And then Schmid didn't win a game, but he looked good in the relief. Obviously only played a period.
Stopped a few shots. Stopped 9 shots?
I think so, something like that. He had a good little period there. So the Oilers coming into the playoffs. Obviously, these probably don't matter nearly as much as what they did to the Kings, right?
Exactly. I'm almost like regular season.
Yeah, they don't matter anymore. They're right in the middle of the pack. But Draisaitl in the playoffs comes as no surprise to me. 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points plus 6. McDavid, 2 goals, 9 assists, 11 points plus 5. And then it certainly falls off, right? Perry, but these are productions as you expect it to be, for a team that won.
Yeah.
Perry, 2 goals, an assist, 3 points plus 4. Kane, guy that, look, he didn't play at all in the regular season. Who would have thought? I thought that was illegal, Jacob.
I thought so too. I forgot to mention when we were talking about the Avs versus the Stars. Did you know that the Avs were $6.14 million over the cap?
You know that we're totally cap compliant coming in? It's weird, right? Vander Kane, 5 games played, 2 goals and assists, 3 points minus 1. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points is 0. Hyman, 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points plus 1. And then Trent Frederick, who you did say is heating up, and you could tell, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, 0 for good for a third liner. Adam Henrique, a goal and assist, 2 points, 0. Connor Brown, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points plus 2. Vasily Podolskin, 4 assists, 4 points. He's a plus 3. Janmark has 2 goals, 3 points. Arvidsson has a goal and assist, 2 points. Didn't even include Jeff Skinner because he got scratched. Not going to matter.
Jeff Skinner's finally in the playoffs.
Here is where we can definitely beat this team. Darnell Nurse, he's got a goal and assist, 2 points, but he's a minus 3. Evan Bouchard, 4 goals, 3 assists, 7 points, also a minus 3. Jake Wallman, this man is playing out of his goddamn mind.
I said Jake Wallman's actually looking pretty good
0 goals, 1 assist, 1 point. He's a plus 8, so he was on the ice for a lot of goals, which is good. And then Klingberg, he had 2 assists, 2 points. He's a plus 3. Brett Kulak, 2 points, plus 5. And then Everson is nothing and a plus 1. But here's where I want to get into the goalies. Calvin Pickard, or Pickard, whatever. I think it's Pickard.
Yeah, Pickard is captain of the USS Enterprise. Jean-Luc Picard.
Calvin Pickard, he's 4-0, 893, 293, and a .7. So yeah, better than Skinner, obviously, but a dead horse would be better than Stu Skinner.
I'd be better than Stu Skinner. Just tie my limbs to the crossbar.
Exactly. So Picard was, he won 4 in a row, but obviously the 893 is better than Hill, but his GAA is higher. And like you said,
and even then, it's like the hit that Hill took to his stats is when we were playing like dog shit in front of him.
The team was awful in front of him.
The 4 games that Pickard was playing in, the team was playing good in front of him, and he still low-key wasn't good.
Yeah, like let's look at the scores on these last ones. So
he's not a world beater, put it that way.
Aside from one game, so they won 4 in a row, right? Okay, so the 4 games they won: Edmonton 7-4, Edmonton 4-3, Edmonton 3-1. That was his one really good game, and then Edmonton 6-4. He wasn't good in 3 of those 4 games that they won.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you're going to hear a lot of talk of, Calvin Pickard, he's going to be, he's the next guy. He's going to be the next one up. I'm like, is he really? Like,
well, he's like 30, so he's not going to be the next anything.
No, or I'm saying he's the next Aiden Hill. I'm like, Aiden Hill was already really good before this, so let's not forget about that. But it's more of a talk of like, yeah, they won, but they didn't win thanks to goaltending, right?
Yeah, and Aiden Hill was posting those numbers while being the backup goalie for the Sharks. So
yeah, exactly. So
a little more miraculous than playing behind McJesus.
And then if you really even want to talk about this, Stuart Skinner 0-2, 810, 611, -5.2. He's done.
We won't see him.
Unless
I truly hope he gets traded somewhere and has a bounce back, because I know there's a good goalie in there.
Yeah.
We've seen it. We saw him at Silver Knights Arena all the time.
No, but he was pretty good in the playoff run last year.
Yeah, he
was pretty good against us too, like in the year before.
Skinner has the potential to be a good goalie, but unfortunately, Edmonton is where goalies go to fucking die.
I mean, look at who's like what Jack Campbell, Koskinen. What's the guy that was in Calgary for a long time? Mike Smith. Yeah.
So we look at these numbers. We look at the 2 series that we played and they played. Yep. To me, it boils down to this: McDavid and Draisaitl, and then Bouchard and Wallman. I guess they have a lot of offensive weapons.
Yes,
and if they're all on the ice at the same time, that's going to be a real fucking problem.
Yes,
a real fucking problem.
Yes,
and they're going to be. I think there will probably be at least one game where we get blown out.
Probably
like 6-1 or something.
But I mean, isn't that what happened in the Cup run? Like,
yeah,
twice, yeah.
We traded blowouts for the first 4 games of the series. But at the end of the day, I think it's safe to say we have more depth. And I know this is the argument everyone made for LA. But we're also better coached.
Much better coached.
Better experienced. Yes, I know LA has Kopi and Doughty, but like most of those guys haven't won anything.
Here's a fun fact about LA: they haven't won a series since they won the Cup.
That is a fun fact.
I'm pretty sure it was either since they won the Cup or 2014.
No, I'm pretty sure that's right actually, because not long after that they had their retool and they didn't make the playoffs
for a little bit, right?
Oh well, we swept them. And then, then they had a little drought while they retooled, and then they're like, "All right, they're back in it." And then they just can't. That was the first time they played the Oilers.
You want to make fun of the Wild? I know, obviously, that extends a little bit further back, but LA's the same way. You get all this hype for them, and they look good, and they just don't win.
Yeah.
And whether that's coaching or the players, like you said, well, it's Kopitar, Kempe, and everything. I'm like, yeah, you know what?
That and just maybe it's just that the West is way tougher than people give it credit for, because
every series
they have to keep playing the Oilers. The Wild had to play us.
Two series are in 7. 2 series went to 6. I'm sorry, not all series can go in 5 because the lower seeds dog shit.
No, exactly.
East, right?
Well, they even asked Cassidy about that. They're like, "Oh, what do you think?" It's when all the Western series were 2-2, and a lot of the Eastern series were 3-1. Mm-hmm. He was like, "Well, parity in the West is stronger."
Oh,
like that's all there is to it.
I mean, yeah.
The Capitals got to play the fucking Habs. The Habs were like, were they even a 500 team in the regular season or barely? Like, but anyways,
give me a break. Yeah.
But anyways, I think if we can find a way to mitigate the damage from those 4.
If we can learn from our mistakes in the Wild of letting that top line do what they want and mitigate that issue, we can match up well depth-wise.
And I think we can exploit their issues because they do have defensive issues in the personnel that they have. I maintain that Chris Knobloch, he coaches an excellent defensive system, and he gets defensive performances out of these players that I did not think was possible, frankly. But at the end of the day, like Bouchard, he's so dangerous on the point, right? Well, so many of those comical errors of his, they start in the offensive zone.
Yeah.
The puck gets bobbled, and then he just straight legs it back to the neutral zone or something.
Well, they a lot of the goals I saw against the Oilers, some of the highlights or even some of the games I was watching, a lot of it came off of either a broken play by the Oilers or a rush chance by the Kings where the Oilers didn't have enough guys back, or if they did have enough guys back, nobody knew who they were covering, which is something that we do, I think, better than the Kings did. And, we operate off the rush, but we're also can be a little bit smarter. So obviously you can exploit those issues, but like you said, they have issues too. Every team's there's not a perfect team in the playoffs, right? Someone would say Boston was perfect. They had issues. Everybody's got their own issues, and you have to be the better coach to exploit those. Granted,
and adapt.
And I think that's
when your own issues come up, how do you?
Yeah, and obviously that's something that is an X factor, right? Knobloch's a good, like you said, he's a great coach.
He's a lot better than Woodcroft.
Way better. I don't think Jay Woodcroft should be coaching any team in the NHL.
Yeah, I saw the Ducks interviewed him. I'm like, why?
You're gonna be bad. You're gonna be bad. But this is a harder, obviously, coaching matchup than Hines was.
Yes.
But with Cassidy, he's got a lot more experience.
I do. Yeah, I should emphasize. I do still think Cassidy's the better coach.
Yes, he's got a lot more experience. He's won a cup. He's been further more times. Granted, obviously Knobloch's got the better superstars, right? But like we said, Jack Eichel and William Karlsson match up very, very well against their superstars. Both those guys played a lot of minutes in the cup run against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah.
Riley Smith has. Mark Stone has.
And that's the thing, too, because I was like, well, at first I was like, I don't know if I like them keeping Karlsson and Eichel together. But, as we saw, Cassie's not afraid to get away from his lines. Like, he says it all the time. He's like,
you can change it anytime.
He says it all the time. He's like, well, this is what we're going with now, but if it doesn't work, I'll just change it.
And you know what? If it's not working, he could always put he put Watt the center with Hurdle and somebody else, because that's a big line that can play defense too.
Yeah, or if you need to separate Eichel and Karlsson, you can do that, and then get that mismatch further down the lineup.
Yeah, if that
because I know it's a very great and cool that Connor Brown managed to score 2 or 3 goals, but is he going to do that if he's matching up against the William Karlsson line? Yeah. No, why? He's not.
No, not a chance. I don't think he would do that against the fourth line, right? But I think this will be, again, I know you picked it in 5, I had it in 6.
I feel I hate picking series like that, especially for my own team. But my gut feeling for Vegas versus Wild was right. That was my only gut feeling that was right, because my bracket, I'm pretty busted. It's busted on both sides.
The ones I got right was us, and I think the Caps and the Canes. That was it. Everything else I got wrong.
Same, except I picked the Habs because I was like, oh yeah, the Caps are frauds. Well, egg on my face.
Yeah,
so I think I literally, it was just us, and then the Canes being the Devils were the only ones I picked successfully.
The Canes beating the Devils was like a foregone conclusion.
Oh yeah, that was like the least interesting matchup.
Yeah. So obviously, going next week, the series starts on Tuesday, and then game 1 Tuesday, game 2.
The real question, Alex, not to cut you off. The real question is are you prepared for another series of crying about the refs, Vegas Golden refs, Bettman's team? Wow.
It'll be nonstop.
Yeah, they're already doing it. This tweet was going around from some Oilers fan where he was like, God, I almost want to. I'm not going to look at it.
You want to fight? Yeah.
Basically, already complaining about the refs, and I left a comment. I was like, holy shit! I'm like, the series hasn't even started yet, and you're already complaining about the refs. The persecution complex.
Yeah.
of all these Canadian teams and Minnesota, which is basically Canada.
Yeah, it's South Canada.
Yeah, it's something to behold. It really is.
It hasn't even, like you said, it hasn't even started.
And I love
yet.
Canada. I love the nation of Canada. I hate Canadian sports fans, though.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. The country's great, and Toronto's really nice. The entire province of Ontario is very nice, and they seem all like a very nice people, but they sure as shit get fucking their panties in a bunch when it comes to their one true sport that they're supposed to be really good at. I don't know, man. When's the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup?
Can't tell you. I was a baby.
Yeah, we didn't have a conscience yet. Pretty sure in 1993 when we were but 2 years old. But yeah, I think this team can win. It's going to be a tight series. I do, like you said, I do predict at minimum one Oilers 6-1 blowout. Where we're like, oh shit, like this is not good.
What?
But this team can bounce back.
If you had to sum it up in a statement, what is going to be the key for Vegas to win the series?
Jack Eichel and William Karlsson playing their game.
Agreed. To me, just to say something different, to me, it's going to be limiting defensive mistakes.
Yep.
And recovering from defensive breakdowns.
Yep, agreed.
There will be defensive breakdowns.
Don't let them snowball. Yeah.
Draisaitl will get 10 points in this series, but when and where, is the question.
And this is going to be a great series. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of clenched cheeks and nervous evenings at the bar watching this game.
Series. I've spent so much money on beer since the playoffs started.
Spend so much more.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's better for Mojave. The longer as this goes, the more money they're going to get from me.
Nah, for real. And it's just good to see the boys.
Yeah. So real quick before we sign off, we talked about this last week. The awards came out. Some of them were very interesting. I would say the heart was
some of them were what you expect. Some of them not so much.
The heart was in that Nathan McKinnon wasn't a part of it. I can understand why.
I knew someone was going to get left out, so I wasn't too surprised.
I can understand why Connor Hellebuck was there, but two of the guys I'm pretty sure are out. Right? Who was the third? Draisaitl, yeah.
And then Kucherov.
No, two of the guys are out of the playoffs. Well, not out, but Hellebuck's not out yet.
It's a regular season award.
Yeah, but they all played great. So I mean, honestly, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Draisaitl. I wouldn't be Draisaitl. It's either Draisaitl or Kucherov's going to win that one. But the Selke that we talked a lot about, and talked a lot about Jack Eichel. The three candidates were Alexander Barkov, foregone conclusion, Anthony Cirelli, and the surprise of the fucking century, Sam Reinhart. And no Jack Eichel at all. Despite of all four having the most points, having the highest plus minus, and having the highest point shares.
Yeah, this is just a reminder to not take these awards too seriously, because all these hockey writers and all these hockey media
and all
guys,
three of them were East Coasters.
Yeah.
No Philip Denault, no Quentin Byfield. There's plenty of West Coast guys that are really good. Not to get you, plenty of West Coast forwards that are Marcus Foligno that are so good. Jack Drury. Nathan McKinnon was even pretty fucking good in his own zone. Just right, Nugent Hopkins, like to give him his own.
One East Coast guy I was surprised didn't get any love. Mitch Marner,
yeah, he's had a great defensive season. Austin Matthews,
yeah, but anyways, the point I was going to make is as far as Eichel not getting on there, this is just a reminder that all these hockey writers and all these hockey media guys and podcasters and broadcasters, they all live in fucking Toronto. Maybe some of them live in New York City. The point being, when the Golden Knights are playing hockey and Jack Eichel is playing these amazing two-way dominant games, they're all in bed because they had to get their sleepy buys. It boggles me that these people make so much money off of hockey and they don't watch half of the fucking games because they don't want to stay up late.
Yep.
I get it. You're working an office job. You don't want to stay up late. How can you analyze hockey if you don't watch half of the fucking games?
Yep. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I looking at these stats, I think Anthony. I don't call me crazy, but I think Anthony Cirelli should win this award. It shouldn't be Alexander Barkov.
Dude, Barkov shouldn't have
been even nominated.
He shouldn't have even. This is again East Coast bias and also name recognition and reputation.
Sam Reinhart shouldn't have been nominated. Look at this real quick, and obviously we're going long. All the games played are pretty similar. Plus minus. Eichel 32, Barkov
plus
1,
32
or plus 32. Barkov 1, Cirelli plus 30, Reinhart plus 6. Automatically, to me, eliminates 2 guys, right?
Yeah.
Faceoffs 1. Eichel is third just barely to Barkov 572, 580, and then Cirelli 647. Cirelli blocks 72.
Yeah.
Defensive zone starts. We talked about this one. Eichel second only to Cirelli. Defensive point shares. Eichel's number 1. Point shares. Eichel's number 1. Obviously we would love at least Eichel to get a nomination, but if Cirelli doesn't win this, it'd be insane.
We all know Barkov is going to win it just because of
Cirelli's having a way better year than.
Well, I know, but this is where the reputation part.
They're going from Bergeron to one guy that wins it every year.
Well, exactly, and here's the thing: they gave it to Bergeron every fucking year, even some years when he probably shouldn't have gotten it.
There's years that Sid should have won.
Yeah, or there are years that Barkov truly should have won.
Yeah,
and now they're doing the makeup game. Like, well, sorry, we felt like we had to give Bergeron his 13th Selke, so now to make up for that, we'll just give you now that Bergeron's retired, the next 3 are just yours. Doesn't matter. They're yours.
Even though he hadn't nearly have a good of a season. So that's, certainly stupid. Just a couple little extra pieces. Jack Eichel had the most ice time of all 4 of these guys. Our average ice time. And he has the highest defensive point shares other than Brandon Hagel and Arturi Lehkonen in the entire league. At least a nomination, but again, like you said, don't get butthurt or don't get your feelings twisted up over some of these awards, because like you said, these voters are on the East Coast.
I'm still butthurt.
Oh yeah,
I'm butthurt.
But
I'm just giving an explanation for why it's happening.
Yeah, these voters are on the East Coast and can't bother to watch a West Coast game, or can't bother to pay attention to the other half of the league for most days. And again, like you said, there's plenty of guys that are missing that should be here above Sam Reinhart and Alexander Barkov. But to end that all, we're playing the Oilers.
Round 2 is upon us, baby.
And just to, again, emphasize those stats, Jack Eichel is a great two-way forward, and he is going to...
Fun fact, you know how Robert Thomas has been so sick for St. Louis this year? He told Monty that he wanted to become a two-way... He wanted to be a better two-way player.
Mm-hmm.
And in their coaching sessions, they specifically looked at video of Jack Eichel.
Damn.
Because Robert Thomas basically said, I want to be like that. Yeah. I want to be that kind of player.
Cassie's turned him into that, too. Obviously, Jack Eichel's a great player, and that man's a psychopath. He'll turn himself into anything he needs to be. But with Bruce Cassidy, that has improved his game.
Well, they work together, and that's why...
And that's why with Monty and Thomas, like you said...
And
I want to be a better complete player, and he's sure as shit. Look at him right now.
Speaking of snubs, can you believe that Montgomery wasn't on the
coach of the year?
Yeah,
it's because he only started halfway through. It was Carberry. I think is gonna win.
Yeah,
Carberry, Evison, and who was the other one? You remember?
I don't, because those two you're like
should
okay,
win. Yeah, those are the two.
It should have been those two in Montgomery. Sorry, whoever the third guy was.
Yeah, it should be those two. It's without a doubt. But
was it Jim Hiller?
No, I don't think it was Hiller.
Oh, okay. Well, that man ruined his reputation in 1 week.
Oh, yeah, easily. He might not even have a job next season. Now with Rick Tocchet and all those guys out there, so who knows? But like we said, going into it, I wanted to bring that up, obviously, in defense of Jack Eichel, but bring up how good he is, both sides of the ice, and how much he improved over that series against Minnesota, and how good the rest of the team has really come up with him.
Yeah, I'll say it one more time because it bears repeating. When we were struggling in that series, it's because Jack Eichel, Mark Stone, Shea Theodore, Aiden Hill,
the engines of the team,
were struggling. As soon as we took control and won it in 6, why was it that happened? Because those players got better.
Yes,
I totally fumbled that sentence. My bad.
but those 6, maybe not 6, 5 or whatever. But those players drastically improved every single game that we won.
And that's something you need to see in the playoffs.
Yeah, because he'll, with Eichel, I mean, we're running long, but with Eichel, obviously he was trying to do a little too much, but then he kind of simplified his game a little bit, and obviously Cassidy switching up the lines, I think, was a huge factor, right?
Oh yeah.
Putting him with a smarter player like Carl. Not saying that Barbee's not smart, but putting a player that plays better in the playoffs with a player like Eichel.
He's way more dynamic and is our second best defensive player.
Oh, easily. And that series took an immediate turn, and I think as soon as they were together, we won all 3 of those games in a row, right? Mm-hmm. So it's huge. And I do think we can keep playing the game, and you know what? If Lions have to change. There's plenty of depth here. I wouldn't say this is a better Oilers team that we played.
Oh, no, they're worse by a mile.
The defense is worse. Their forwards are very similar, outside of like Warren Fogle, I think. But
Dylan Holloway. Yeah,
Dylan Holloway. So I would say we can beat this team, but it will be another knife fight. It will be rough. It will be as you expected, 2 teams that have been rivals for 8 years. Mm-hmm. 2 good teams that have been very, very close tied to each other for a long time. But that being said, Knights in 6. You got Knights in 5. We'll see.
Gut feeling. I'm doubting it a little bit now.
We'll have one more. We'll have one more episode before the end of the series, right? Because it'll be game 1, 2, and 3 by
game
next
3
Saturday.
Is on Saturday, so we'll probably record after game 3.
Yeah, I agree. And then, but we'll talk again before the end of the series, much like we did with Minnesota. So hopefully we'll see where we're at next week. But that all being said, and this entire episode being said, as you all know, go Knights go, and stay gold.
Stay gold.